Hello, I'm Sophia Kozak, and this is my final project called Women's Rights Movement. So, what's the history of this movement? The women's rights movement has been a long-standing phenomenon that has accumulated for over many, many years due to the fact that women were never really treated or looked at the same way as men were. It all started in 1848 when Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Lucretia Mott planned the first women's rights convention in Seneca Falls called the Seneca Falls Convention. It was mainly motivated by the tiredness of lack of education and job opportunities available for women at the time, and they also fought for individualism and power. Some other motivations for this movement was the fact that women wanted to be able to run for office, so they could be part of the government and part of political views and speak in Congress and vote. The convention was originally mainly attended by white women, meaning there wasn't that much diversity in the members until in 1851, a former slave, Sojourner Truth, was the first African American to join the convention. She brought diversity and she helped expand the convention. And then later in 1890, a women's suffrage group joined together and also helped expand the convention even further. So, as we have seen many improvements throughout women's rights, what are the current problems in the USA? So we have reproductive rights, women violence, racial justice, economic justice, and constitutional equality. So let's get into reproductive rights and economic justice. First, we have economic justice. This has been an issue which has been carried on since the beginning of time, where women weren't even allowed to work before, but they still don't get paid or treated equally in the work industry as women do until a Civil Rights Act in 1964, which prohibited discrimination in the work industry based on sex, which did help improve the overall treatment towards women. But this negatively impacted women of color tremendously because racial injustice was still a very, very big problem in the world back then as well as today. And as much as the Civil Rights Act helped, we can still see some problems today. But what has the citizens or organizations done to advocate for this now? Well, there's a Fearless Fund, which advocates for businesses owned by women of color or women of ethnicity to better help support their businesses. Another tremendous controversial topic that has been going on for the past many decades is abortion rights. So, beginning of time, before Roe v. Wade, there were 30 states that banned it, 16 states that banned it with allowed circumstances, and 3 states that allowed abortions. And then this was changed by Roe v. Wade in 1973, which gave a constitutional right to abortion, meaning every single woman in the USA was able to have an abortion, which was then overturned in 2022, very, very recently, by the Supreme Court in the case of Dobbs v. Jackson's Women's Health Organization. This then gave each state's ability to control whether or not they wanted to enforce abortion laws within their state, and it ended with many liberal states allowing abortion and more conservative states prohibiting it or banning it for all circumstances. Many argue that this overturning back in 2022 didn't really progress or show improvement as a society, but instead moving backwards, where now many states are allowing women to have basic civil rights to control their body, etc. To help support this cause, we can donate to the Planned Parenthood Action Fund. Now, who are some current activists today which help advocate for women's rights? Well, one that we have is Malala Yousafzai. She advocated for girls' education globally after being shot by disobeying sexist Taliban rules against women in education. When she was a child, she used to go to school and she enjoyed it very much and valued it greatly in her life until in 2013, I believe, the Taliban banned women and girls from going to school and being able to have an education. Malala really enjoyed and valued her education, and she was very passionate about it. Therefore, she wanted to continue, and she decided to speak openly and publicly about her views on women's rights and what needs to be changed and what shouldn't be allowed. She then got shot by the Taliban and was treated later, but she survived and went on to continue her journey of education. Once her story became publicized and she became a huge figure for women's rights. What has her help been like in the USA? Well, she has a Malala Fund, which is a nonprofit organization and a public charity which you can donate to. and overall played a huge role in spreading awareness for women's rights, and she also helps promote education for children of all sexes. So, what can you do to support this? Well, I've mentioned some already, but you can donate or support the Malala Fund, the Fearless Fund, or the Planned Parenthood Action Fund, or you can write a letter to someone of power. For example, a Senate of California like Alex Padilla or Adam Schiff, along with spreading awareness yourself to others. Anyways, here are my citations, and thank you so much for listening.